Hi, I'm Callie, and I'm here with Ben Kahn, writer of the comics Shaman and Heavenly Blues. Your first comic, Shaman, was about a man named Shaman who is able to resurrect people from the dead, and his teenage daughter, sorceress, LL, who helped him with that, as well as Zachary Wu, a teleporter and ex-superhero.
That's right, showing the goofy side of necromancy.
Exactly.
Takes place in a superhero world, so it was very much about exploring kind of good and evil, black and white, from a man who has nothing but shades of gray, though albeit very colorful shades of gray. Lots of pink. Pink is comic this side of My Little Pony. But yeah.
And your second, Heavenly Blues, is about these two inhabitants of hell who are going to steal something, a treasure of God from an archangel.
That's right. It's two thieves, a bank robber from the 1930s, and a little girl who was a scam artist during, well, I could tell you when, but that might be a little bit of a spoiler.
No spoilers.
No spoilers.
Yeah.
And it's really them in just this kind of meaningless existence of hell when they're kind of given this chance to steal from heaven, and it just reawakens all these old hopes and goals and passions within them.
Definitely. So could you tell us a little bit about how you've been enjoying FlameCon so far and any highlights?
Yeah, FlameCon has been phenomenal. Lots of great cosplayers, real good crowd, real good energy. I think my favorite has to be Beefcake Boys and Ivy. That was a fun cosplay. Lots of good stuff. So yesterday I did the Queercopia panel where me and a bunch of other comic creators got to give a little reading presentation of our latest work. So that was really good.
Yeah.
Getting kind of put on my movie trailer voice for Heavenly Blues.
Can you show us that voice?
In a world. No. It was a lot of, this is not a story of redemption. This is a story of thieves, of taking what can't be given. Story of a bank robber cut down in his prime. Story of a little girl who just tried to escape with her life. This is a story of heaven and of hell. This is Heavenly Blues. That's right, I memorized it. I practiced.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
It's very good.
You gotta wake up early to be me. Not really. I like to sleep in and I'm late for everything.
Could you tell us a little bit about yourself, your origin story, how you got into writing comics?
Absolutely. So I was raised in Connecticut. If not in New York, then certainly a New York shadow. I did a webcomic in high school where I just kind of manipulated some video game graphics, put up some dialogue. Very simple, not really much to talk about, but trained me a lot in the comic medium and especially just in writing dialogue since that was the only original elements of it. And then I got real big into comics when I came into college. Went to school in Philadelphia, and it was really Neil Gaiman's Sandman that really just sucked me into the world and the medium and got me questioning, could I do this? Could I write comic books? And then since then the only word really is insanely obsessed. I mean, just making decisions that no rational person would ever possibly make, but it's all led to me having a comic. It's all led to me having a comic book, so I'm going to say totally worth it. And then was very lucky to get to work with Locust Moon Press, who helped connect me to the artist Bruno Hidalgo, who was the artist on both Shaman and Heavenly Blues. And yeah, I've just been, as someone who can barely draw a stick figure, I've been very lucky to have the collaborators I've had.
Yeah, you guys seem to have a great working relationship, so could you expand on that?
Yeah, I love working with Bruno. He is my brother in arms, and we have never met face to face.
No, really?
So Shaman was all emails as we navigated the language barrier. Now that we're on Heavenly Blues, we've worked together long enough that we can graduate to Facebook conversations and IMs.
Do you plan on meeting him ever?
We've made plans. Like, we would love to do Barcelona Comic Con or have him down for New York. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite panel or image that he's done in your work?
I do. The last page of issue 2 of Shaman is one where Shaman's confronting the villain, a superhero naturally, and he raises an army of zombies from the grave, and that's how we end issue 2. I'm a big fan of having a cliffhanger. Instead of being like, oh, danger, I'm like, yeah, no, you're going to kill the character the series is named after in issue 2. I believe that. I really like doing cliffhangers where the main character's about to do something really, really badass, and you just gotta come in just to see how they do this really badass thing they've now teased. So that was a full page spread, and I just think it turned out really well. The zombies were creepy, Shaman looked ominous, and it was just all the elements I was hoping to strike just really came together for a cool image.
And could you talk a little bit about your writing process? Do you like have an end goal in mind, or you kind of just start, see where it takes you?
So definitely need to know where the issue's going to go. Definitely do an outline stage. Most of my writing does not happen in front of a keyboard. Most of my writing happens in the shower, at the gym, on a run. So it's a lot of playing it over in my head like a movie. And I actually start with the dialogue. The dialogue's really important to me. So even when the dialogue gets totally rewritten, I'll start with the conversation I want them to have, and from there figure out how much space I need, how to block it off, how the characters need to be positioned. But yeah, really try to keep in mind, especially just when you only have so many pages, and you're, especially in Heavenly Blues now, that as opposed to Shaman, where there's a lot of one-shots and complete stories altogether, it's definitely been more of a pacing challenge, where each issue needs to tell an important piece of the overall story, knowing exactly what each issue needs to accomplish and making sure I'm on the right path to tell the story that needs to be told, get the character developments in there. But it really kind of all starts with a conversation. Like, I want the characters, I need to hear them in my head, need to know it, hear them talk, and then that informs how the story gets laid out. Music's a big part of my writing process, and it's really important to me that I find the right songs that kind of set the mood or communicate what I want. To me, I think it makes reading more compelling, and it makes writing a lot easier to do the story. So,
what's the song for like Heavenly Blues? I'm guessing some kind of blues.
So Heavenly Blues, it's actually a lot of punk rock and a lot of electro swing. So a lot of jazz swing and a lot of punk. Shaman was a lot more a bit of pop and a lot of like alt rock and a lot of like modern indie stuff.
I did notice similarities between them, like dealing with themes of morality, and is that something you like to focus on, or it just kind of comes out in your writing?
I'm bad at writing heroes, but I write good protagonists. I like writing about liars and tricksters and thieves. Those are just fun characters to me. And a lot of times, like, the classical hero is usually kind of interested in the status quo and maintaining the status quo, and that's not quite so compelling. So I like characters that either want to change something or go against the grain, or in the case of Heavenly Blues, something like a little more personal, just trying to achieve something for themselves rather than this broader moral victory. I know exactly how Shaman ends. I know like, I could do 10 volumes of Shaman, and I know exactly what the last line on the last panel of the last page is. Yes. So I tried to leave volume 1 at not an ending, but certainly an end point, a nice capstone on the adventures that there's been, while hopefully leaving the door open to a lot of fun adventures in the future.
There's a formula, or not exactly a formula, but some kind of way you try to balance the humor with the action, and, you know.
Yeah. So Shaman's definitely much more of a comedy, and I think a lot of that comes from, which got 3 main characters. You mentioned Shaman, LL, and Zach Wu. And that trio very much represents your kind of classic id, ego, and super ego. When you've got 3 main characters, it's a great character dynamic. It's a lot of comedy that can build off it. So LL is definitely the free-spirited, anarchistic id. Shaman is the pragmatic, morally aware, like jaded. He's the ego. And then Zach Wu is the more moralistic, more classically heroic superego between the two. So that one was a lot of comedy, and there I tried not to for it to never be slapstick or farcical. I wanted them to be real situations, you know, as real as baseball demons and teleporting skeletons can get. I wanted the humor not to come from the action. I wanted the humor to come from their reaction.
Yeah. And Erin Foley kind of reminded me a little bit of LL and her like sassy, but like with more of an edge, because she's like clearly done something to end up in hell.
Those characters to me are so interesting because they are similar on the surface, but deep, what drives them at their core could not be more different. Like LL at heart there's nobody that loves life more than she does. She loves her family. She loves the adventure she goes on. She has a deep, abiding love for life and enjoying it to its fullest. Erin Foley, on the other hand, comes from a place of just pure malice and anger and hate. And that's what drives her every step of the way, is just the injustices she feels, that she feels punished for things that were outside of her control, and just that burning, toxic need for anger and retribution and revenge is really what drives her, and what really motivates every action she takes, is wanting to make people feel the pain she feels.
If you could have a crossover comic with Shaman and another comic, what would you do?
So maybe not another comic, but I think Shaman would do really well in a Quentin Tarantino universe.
Okay.
Like, he's got that wry, sarcastic sense of humor, understands the rules of the world and subject matter, but also knows how to subvert them and make fun of them. I could see you put Shaman in a Tarantino universe. I could see him pulling a Mr. Pink and sneaking his way out of surviving it, or he'd be the person that comes up with all these really elaborate plans and is very sneaky and mastermind, and then just one stupid thing ends up with a shotgun-sized hole in his chest. Yeah, they say write what you know, so obviously my first book was about a single dad in his middle ages. Yeah, obviously. I feel like Shaman is kind of the adult I want to be, and LL I feel like is kind of the person I was or still am at my most hyper. But yeah, I'd say Shaman's who I want to be, LL is a little bit of who I am. FlameCon has been fantastic, so many great creators and works out here. Really glad a convention like this exists, and just encourage everyone to come out for next year, because if it's half as good as it is this year, it's a great time for everyone.
So thanks for watching. I'm Callie, and this is Ben Kahn, very talented. If you enjoyed this video, please like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, subscribe on YouTube, and check us out on our website, ComicsVerse.com, where we have the latest on what's going on in comics and great analysis there. So thank you.